How about the Tigers asking for patience?
Unsyndicated presents Shep and Sean, featuring Matt Shepard and Sean Belegian.
All right, what is up? Isn't it amazing how things change? He's Shep, I'm Sean. Hi. Isn't it amazing how things change? I was just talking to Shep and Todd as I was watching that game last night. And honest to goodness, it's easier to say this after the fact, but I hope you guys can take me at my word. I just never got to the point last night where I was like, I'm turning this game off. I don't want to see it. Last night, Shep, to me, was a simple reminder of a few things in the National Football League. And I'll get to them in just a minute with you, but I want to start that. Did you have that feeling like you're like, oh, this one's over, like all those Lions games gone by?
I never felt that way. I haven't felt that way about this team for 2 years, 2.5 years, perhaps. Always know. I look at talent, man. And I just think I think Detroit has too much talent for them to be completely out of a game. I'm not going to sit there and tell you I knew they'd come back and win, though.
Mm-hmm.
I thought if there was a game that they would stumble, if you want to play the schedule game, I thought if there was a game they might stumble, that would be it. Houston coming off an embarrassing loss to the Jets at home, trying to revive a little bit of their mojo. Thought that might be the time, but we really shouldn't be surprised at what this team does because they're super talented and not just on the field. I might be more impressed with their coaches than with the people on the field playing the game.
Aaron Glenn, the witchcraft that man performs, like I'm serious. Shep, I know that everybody was talking about Jake Bates, and I know that the offense found itself. Stella got her groove back. None of that is possible if Aaron Glenn in that defense doesn't first limit the Texans in the first quarter and the second quarter, and second, shut them the bleep down in the second half, man.
Unbelievable.
I can't say enough about the job that man has done.
In addition to that, they've got, Pat O'Connor is pressuring the quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
They've got guys who, with all due respect, really, we haven't heard a lot about these guys. So I was talking with a friend of mine at the gym today. He's a huge Packers slappy. And I looked at him and I said, you thought they were going to lose last night, didn't you? He said, I was hoping they would. And I said, yeah. I said, it's interesting, isn't it? He said, what's that? I said, well, a few weeks ago, we were talking about your team, the Packers, and you kept whining about how many injuries they have, including Jordan Love, who actually did play against Detroit. And I said, look what the Lions were missing. And yet they weren't whining. They didn't need a Kleenex. They weren't bitching about stuff. They weren't making excuses. You know what they did? They went out and took care of business, dude. And their quarterback didn't play very well. And yet they found a way. That's called resiliency. And that's what champions are made of.
Yep. Shep, to me, there are two things that jumped out to me yesterday, subtle reminders, and I know you and I talked about them last week, as a matter of fact, and I think it's worth reiterating. Number one, the NFL is not that easy. The Lions are going to end up losing a game or two the rest of the way. Newsflash. They are not going to go 16-1. I don't believe it for a second. I hope they do, but they're not going to go 16-1. And they might.
Find me the loss, though. Find me the loss.
We talked about there's a possibility of the Bills. There's no question about that. And I'm telling you, maybe this is from horrors of my past, including last December, going to Soldier Field in December. That is, and they're a disaster right now. The Bears were a disaster.
Yeah.
But the Bears were a disaster last year, too.
Yeah, they could turn it around. No, that's a good point. It's a really good point. Caleb Williams does not look real good, nor does he look comfortable.
No.
And decision-making, that's what I mean about that position. Like, we don't know the decisions that he's making, if they're the right ones or the wrong ones, even on certain completions. But he sure doesn't look comfortable. DJ Moore looks like he's given up. Matt Eberflus is searching. That's a team in turmoil. Aren't you glad we don't have to do this? How many times did you and I walk in on a Monday morning and say, the show's basically done because all we got to do is say, the Lions suck, 248, blah, 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 blah. Right? Am I wrong about that?
Right,
And
11:30.
now what we're doing is we're making fun of Chicago because DJ Moore's walking off the field. Micah Parsons is telling everybody who will listen he doesn't give a crap about Mike McCarthy. All he cares about is Zach Martin and other players who work harder than the head coach. You got guys who are trying to figure out what they need to do with their offense. You got coaches who know damn well they're dead man walking. Hi, Jacksonville. New Orleans is working on a special teams coach that they're trying to love up. And deep down inside, the GM's going, please don't be successful so I can go out there and actually hire somebody else who is more qualified.
Right.
We don't have to deal with that, Sean. It's awesome.
Nope. Tom said, good evening, boys. Nick said, I'm probably in the minority, but I didn't give up at the half, nor did I. They can just adjust. I didn't look for a cider mill all night. It didn't have the Ravens of last year. Phil Eric says, what's up? Yep. Tom said, I think Williams is the passing yards as the Bears, punter is kick. Lions have to do it this year with Glenn and Ben Johnson still here.
I knew it. I knew that. That's the sense of urgency from Lions fans. It's not the window. Like you and I have talked about this before. Window, I don't believe in windows. There's teams that have proven those windows become doors that become garage doors at times for like New England. I don't believe in it. However, I think with this mix of people, it's like Jared Goff said last night. We're blank different. We're blank and different. Okay, great. But when you have Aaron Glenn, who you had mentioned and is so dialed in, and Sean, remember, it was a year and a half ago. People wanted him gone.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So when you've got a guy like this who has turned out to be a hell of a defensive coordinator and Ben Johnson, people feel like this is the golden opportunity for us to kick it in. And on top of that, the NFC, Detroit's clearly the best team, and perhaps maybe only two other teams that you'd be worried about, Kansas City and Buffalo. So
it is the undeniable truth to me. And it was funny because I was looking at, in particular, Kansas City's schedule last year. The undeniable truth to me is you usually lose a game in this league that you're not supposed to lose.
Right.
Really.
Right.
I mean, I don't know where it is. It's just that's an under. And it was funny because they lost to last year off the top of my head. They lost to a very bad Broncos team and a horrific Raiders team that had just come here and bumbled and stumbled all over the place. That was quarterbacked by Aiden O'Connell. I mean, that to me, that's
right.
the National Football League today. So it's about not getting too high. It's not about not getting too low. And Shep, we have to accept the fact. Here we are talking about all these wonderful things. There is a massive target on the Lions every single week.
Absolutely. No doubt. And I mean, obviously Kansas City too, who, by the way, have as many close games this year as the 1972 undefeated Dolphins and the 2007 undefeated Patriots regular season combined. That's how close Kansas City has played. But they found a way. I'm not going to sit there and complain about it.
Never.
Have they gotten a little bit of help? Wink, wink. Yeah. I mean, Steve Spagnuolo can't call timeout, but for some reason, as an assistant coach for the Kansas City Chiefs, he can. But they're 8-0. You got to give them credit. I don't care how the Lions win. You can worry about breaking down film and figuring out what they got to do better for next week when you jump on the plane and you're victorious.
Right. I love what Eric said. Thank you for the reminder. Happy Veteran Day, guys. God bless America. Amen to that.
Thank them, man. Thank them as often as you can. They deserve more than a day. We all know that. But anytime you see someone, I don't care if you're at the gym, the grocery store, the airport, or pumping gas, if you see somebody with a Vietnam veteran sticker in their car or a hat on or something like that, any type of veteran, I always make sure, hey, thanks for your service. God love you, So I hope you guys do the same.
Shep, another reminder from last night, and somebody brought Jared Goff's name into the equation. Another reminder from last night is how important protecting quarterbacks is in the National Football League. And I've said this forever and a day about Jared Goff. No quarterback likes pressure. There isn't one quarterback that sits back and goes, man, give me some pressure, okay? The way quarterbacks handle it is different.
Yeah.
And he doesn't handle pressure well. He just doesn't. Other guys have been able to perform. This is a guy that when he's under pressure, he's shown over the course of his career, and it's kind of what ran him out of Los Angeles because their offensive line was a disaster at the end. This is a guy that kind of has the tendency to turn the ball over a little bit.
Yeah, I think in fairness to Jared Goff, he was the highest rated quarterback against pressure going into the game against Houston.
Sure.
So that's number one. Number two, to your point, there's not one quarterback who likes pressure.
Not
the
one.
difference is where that pressure comes from.
You nailed it.
We've talked to quarterbacks over our careers. Pressure comes in your face. That's no bueno. Pressure comes from the edge, and you can step up. That's fine. Pressure comes from like just a little bit inside where you can roll, spin, and roll. They can handle that. Jared Goff doesn't have that ability, so the pressure in his face is probably a little bit more heightened than it would be against a Josh Allen or a Patrick Mahomes or a Lamar Jackson type player.
Yep.
You know,
that's it. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, but I think his numbers going into that game against Houston, he's handled the pressure, quote unquote, how you define that really is up to all those sabermetrics, better than just about any other quarterback in the NFL. Look, I was, Sean, last night, somebody asked me earlier today about his downfield throws. Those didn't bother me. I mean, the pick was a bad one. He's going for Jameson Williams. He threw it to the wrong spot. I mean, Williams was, I understand why he threw it, but he needed to throw it more toward the boundary. My question is, what was going on with the short throws? Because he looked like a guy who was almost uncertain by throwing it at so many guys' feet.
Shep, the term that I would use is he was shook. He was visibly shook. He was. You saw it. I thought, and I know exactly when you're talking about. I thought towards the end of the third quarter and in the fourth quarter, I was like, sit him down. Get him right. This looks like the guy that was jumpy in the end of his Rams tenure. Shep, he was awful at the end of his Rams tenure. And at times early when
what do you mean sit him down? What do you mean sit him down, get him right? What do you mean by that?
Have somebody walk up and go, dude, come on. You're better than this. Come on. Okay. I'm not saying take him out or anything like that. Okay. Come on, man. Head the game. You got this. Don't worry about it. And, because sometimes you need to do, hey, settle. Stay within yourself. I get it. You've been taken out of your comfort zone, etc. And if anything, it shows you how important a guy like Taylor Decker is. I mean, make no mistake about that. But let's also give Houston some credit. This is a line that has shown they can get after, and they got after it last night. So
and they did it without two of their biggest weapons, right? Yep. No Collins on offense and no Anderson on defense. I was amazed. You and I both love what Ben Johnson does. He's super creative. I mean, I love the different ways that Detroit lines up and the motion that they give and all that other stuff. I don't care about flea flickers and offensive tackles going off the passes. I love how he sets guys up and forces the defense to really communicate and talk to one another and can confuse them a little bit. But what Aaron Glenn has done recently, to me, hey, there he is. What Aaron Glenn has done recently has been simply amazing. Had you ever heard of Al-Qadim Muhammad until last night?
It's incredible.
You knew of Ben Neiman, right? Of course, because you probably remember him at Iowa. But there's guys who are making plays, and you're going, where the hell did this guy come from, right? I mean, Trevor Nowatzki, you probably saw him because you call GLIAC football. He was at Saginaw Valley.
Yep.
So you remember.
Remember him well. Yeah.
But how many Lions fans are all record? These guys are making plays, Sean. They're out there getting it done. I mean, James Houston was inactive for the first 3-4 games of the season, and he's out there making plays.
Yep.
Don't tell me it's not contagious, number one, and don't tell me guys aren't re-energized and reinvigorated with what's going on with this team. Everybody wants to be part of it. I absolutely love it.
I have to remind everybody that they basically looked at their secondary from last year, their corners, and crumbled up the piece of paper and threw it away and said, okay, let's just start afresh. I mean, it's insane. I mean, that's literally what they did. And, it's a combination.
Not just that. You know what doesn't get enough pub? Brian Branch was a nickel corner last
year. Yeah.
And the Lions went, you know what? Let's move him to safety.
Yeah.
And he and Kirby Joseph are the highest rated safeties in the NFL.
It's incredible. I mean, what an incredible duo, man.
Right.
Tom said, I don't think the line play as well as they have the last few games. Eric, I have a soft spot for dogs. Branch is unreal, no doubt. Let me tell you about All About Catering. They're unreal as well. Cheesy radio
Oh,
segue.
man, that's
Hey,
beautiful.
All About Catering LLC is a full-service caterer. Graduations, weddings, bridal showers, corporate events, anything you need catering for from 25 to 4,000 people. All About Catering can and will take care of you. Customer service and satisfaction is their number one goal, so don't sweat your next big event. Just go to allaboutcateringllc.com to see their menus and all their 5-star reviews. Give them a call at 586-731-1398 to get your event started. Rick and his gang will take care of you. You know, and Shep, to that point, I had a conversation with somebody just this afternoon about the Lions' upcoming schedule. And I'm going to say the same thing. I agree with the sentiment. I agree based on what we were saying earlier, that when you look at the schedule at face value, they should pound the Jags. They should beat the Colts, even down in Indy, and they should take care of the Bears at Ford Field. I just warn people, and I hope that they don't lose their mind, especially when you think how much scar tissue from butthurt this franchise and its fans have. God forbid they actually lose one of these games. And I could hear people going, oh, here we go, same old Lions, like they did last year, losing that game at Soldier Field. It's the National Football League, man.
Yeah.
When you think you know something, I'm sorry, I've seen it way too many times.
But Sean, here's what's going to happen. They've got Jacksonville and Indy next, and then they've got a run, I believe, of 3 straight home games: so Chicago, Green Bay, and Buffalo.
Yep.
Okay. And then they're on the road for a couple, and I think that's it. I could be wrong, but anyway, answer me. Find me the next game they're not going to be favored in. Okay,
they're favored the rest of the year. And maybe Frisco, depending on how well Frisco's playing at the end of the year.
That's what I said.
Yep.
If Frisco's healthy, if Samuel's out there, if Christian McCaffrey's out there, right? If Kittle's healthy, and Trent Williams and Warner's healthy, and Bosa's healthy, all that stuff, I think San Francisco might be a 2.5 point favorite, something like that. That'll be it, though.
Mm-hmm.
Detroit will be favored in every single game they play. And I know for some people that doesn't mean much, but usually, Vegas does a pretty good job of stuff. They really do.
Tom said maybe the Buffalo game. I still think at Detroit, though, you're going to have Detroit as the favorite. If you use what's the theory? 2.5, 3 points for just being at home. Yeah. They get the additional 2.5, 3 points just being at home. But look, that's a game they could lose. I mean, I make no mistake about that. They could lose that one.
The home field, and we've had this discussion before, the belief that, automatically the home field wins. I mean, tell that to Washington yesterday.
Right.
Tell that to Dallas in the playoffs last year. Tell that to Detroit against Seattle last year and Tampa this year. I just don't buy that. I mean, if you're a really good team, or even if you're playing really good football at the time, like Tampa was right earlier this year, even though it's just a couple games in. If you're a really good team, it doesn't matter. Detroit's won all their road games, folks. I mean, they're playing really good football.
Mike Tomlin, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, just Shep, mad respect. And I know they haven't won in a long time, but Chuck Noll, Bill Cowher, Mike Tomlin since the 1960s. That's insanity. I mean, it is. It's insane. And they're always there. They always seem to be there. It's incredible to me, man.
Do you know how many losing seasons he's had?
Off the top of my head, I'll say 1.
0.
Really?
He's had 2 500 seasons.
Oh, jeez, Pete.
Yeah.
And it's not like they're not loaded. It's not like how do we stop the Steelers? I mean, really, it's just a fantastic system, man.
Outside of T.J. Watt and George Pickens, give me the guy.
Right.
And who would have thought Russell Wilson? Although Russell Wilson actually had a decent year last year, you just don't believe it, right?
No.
You're like, okay, can he really? Probably not. Plus, we thought that was arguably the best division in all of football.
Yeah.
I think he's the coach of the year. I do. I think Mike Tomlin, as of right now, would be coach of the year.
I'm
I
not going
could
to
be,
argue that.
yeah, I could be wrong.
Not going to
You
argue
know,
that. Hey, let me tell you about our friends at Legacy Partners. Did you know thousands of Metro Detroiters have already called Legacy Partners to get help with their home and auto insurance? Our friends at Legacy Partners are one of Southeast Michigan's top independent insurance agents. They provide a full-service, one-stop solution for all of your insurance needs, personal and business, large and small. Legacy helps listeners by fixing mistakes other agents have made. They did it for us, asking the right questions to get the right coverage put in place to properly protect you and help save you some money at the same time. Chances are, if you haven't checked your policies in the last year, you're probably paying too much and you could be underinsured. Check and check for my family. So what are you waiting for? They'll do the same thing for you. Give Legacy Partners a chance to help with your home, your cars, life insurance, Medicare enrollment, or your business insurance needs. Call them today, 586-209-4106, or visit legacypartnersins.com to get started with your new quotes.
Hey,
Austin, yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, sorry to cut you off there. And speaking of coaches of the year, we should congratulate AJ Hinch, who's a finalist for American League Manager of the Year. All three managers from the AL Central. Stephen Vogt, first year, had never coached
Incredible.
or managed, and he wins the division after being 10 games under 500 last year. Matt Cotrero, who had the worst record in the league last year, and I would guess he probably wins it, and AJ Hinch. It's a hell of a job by the division and a hell of a job by Hinch, even though we're told to be patient with the Tigers
I want
because
to get
I'm
into
not
that.
sure about the payroll. Oh, my God.
I want to get into that. I'm going to read some comments and I'm going to get into that.
You want to piss a fan base off, Sean? Use that word a few more times.
Hey, Shep, this is, I'm sorry. We talked about it a couple weeks ago. I talked about it in the summer. I talked about it last year. I want to believe that Christopher Ilitch is going to open up the checkbook and start writing off magic checks. Okay. I have no reason to believe it.
You love magic.
I have no reason to believe it. I don't. So if somebody says, "Oh yeah, he's going to do it," you're hoping he will. There's based on what? I'm sorry.
You know what their payroll is right now, right? So it's about 20, 80. It's about 80 million.
Yeah, 22nd, right? 22nd in the league.
It's 26th, I thought. Whatever.
Okay, whatever.
But it's about 80 million. What do you think it should be?
Are you serious about winning a World Series?
Yeah, but we both know it. You don't have to spend a lot of money to win a World Series.
You don't have to go over the top. But I'm Shep, on a personal level, I'm tired of hearing people bring up the Tampa Rays and the Cleveland Guardians. I am.
Fair enough. That's fair enough.
I'm tired of it.
I get it, and I don't believe the Baltimore example is a good one either because they spent less money because all their young guys are really effing good. They just don't get paid a lot of money. So there's the difference. And they made them lose Anthony Santander to free agency this year and Corbin Burns. So just give me a ballpark on what you think it would be. I'll give you an example. Colorado's payroll at the end of the year was 147 million, and that ranks 17th.
Isn't that crazy?
So if that's a good barometer for you, give me what you think Detroit's payroll you'd like to see it at least at.
I would love to see top 15 at the very least, top 15. And you're talking about spending what, another $70 million, almost double what you're spending already.
Right. I'm not looking for a ranking. I'm looking for a number.
150 would be nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So I've said in the past about 145, 140 to 150. I don't think that's outrageous.
Mm-hmm.
About middle of the pack. I don't know all their expenses, but I would guess you could get by with that. All right.
Yep.
If you've got enough money to put into a new plane and you've got enough money to put into these luxury suites behind home plate and stuff like that, my guess is that would be something. Okay. And I'm not saying you go out and you buy every free agent because I don't think that's always the answer either. But look, I mean, according to a report, this is just a report, they made an offer to Skubal and it was tossed aside because it was not enough years and it was too low to be paid.
What was the quote that I read? Was it Evan Petzold? Because I think we probably read the same thing. I don't want to misquote it, but I believe the quote was something along the lines of, "It wasn't taken as a serious offer."
Right.
Hey, that's a good way to start things out. Right. Yeah. Hey, that's a wonderful way to start, especially with a guy like his agent. That's a wonderful way to start things out. What
But
are
they
you
have a good
doing?
relationship with him, Sean.
Right. Hey,
Yeah.
Austin, let me get some comments in here. Regardless who won yesterday, it was a weird game. Houston OT strip sacking his own quarterback. Montgomery 4-yard first quarter. Goff looked like he was on drugs. Just a weird game. Glad they pulled it out in the end. It's damn hard to win in the NFL. Detroit keeps doing it with injuries. I'm with you, Nick. That's just the way it is. Austin added Pittsburgh, Baltimore is going to be awesome Sunday. Pittsburgh might be a sleeper Super Bowl pick. If you're a betting man, they have good value. A guy we both know, one Charlie Batch, has been
Yeah.
spouting off lately. Pittsburgh, Detroit Super Bowl, for what it's worth. That's something he's been throwing out there.
I'd buy one of those teams, but not the other.
I'm with you. Kansas City, I'm sorry, they're going to be there, and we all just have to accept it. I'm convinced of it.
I wouldn't gloss over Buffalo.
I'm still convinced of it. I'm just convinced of it. And especially they get every gosh damn call. It's incredible.
They do.
It is unbelievable.
I know.
It's
And then a blocked field goal for crying
oh
out
my
loud.
gosh. Chris Illich had his kid at Comerica, and he says he wants a winner. That means nothing. I think he's content in saying, see, we are a capable team. We need a Chris Illich Photoshop over a Fox Mulder X-Files poster. I want to believe. Nick said 150 for payroll. Tom said 175 for payroll, but also added that damn dream.
175 is not going to happen.
Yeah, he said that's a damn dream.
Yeah.
Nick said lowballed him. Austin said we need to shore up the corners of the infield, at least one of them. I want Pete Alonso because I have man love for him and a few more arms. Austin,
I understand that. I understand the Pete Alonso. Pete Alonso's 30. How many years? See, we can't just. I don't believe in these types of conversations. You can just say this is who I want, because there's ramifications for all of it. Pete Alonso is not delivering you a championship.
Mm-hmm.
So my question to anybody would be, come with a plan. How many years and how much per year? So people kept saying, here's what you do. You sign Pete Alonso, Alex Bregman, and you sign a couple of pitchers. Alex Bregman could cost you about $26 million. Pete Alonso is going to cost you a little bit north of that. A decent starting pitcher is going to cost you at least, somewhere in the neighborhood. I'm not talking about Kenta Maeda, but remember, he made $14 million last year. So that means a decent starting pitcher is going to cost at least $20 million. Suddenly, there's $60-70 million right there on three guys. You still have to come to arbitration with a lot of guys, and you want to work on that long-term deal with Skubal. Which brings me to this, Sean. What would you sign Skubal for? Remember this, in case people don't know. I know that you already know this. He's 28, all right? He turns 28 on November 20th. He is 2 years arbitration eligible. So he goes into the arbitrator this year. After making $2.5 million this year, he'll make at least $8 million, all right, on a 1-year deal. Next year, if he does something similar, he'll double that. He'll make about $16 million. All right. By that time, he will be 29 years old. So you don't have to sign him. But if you want to and say, forget the arbitration eligible, we'll take it after that. How many years and how much per season?
Put me on the spot. You know what? I look at this. Where's Garrett Cole? What maybe 36 million, right?
$36.5 million. I think there was an opt-out there. He re-signed. I think he's going to make, I want to say like $40 million this year, but his contract was 9 years, 36.5 per season. And it's a really good example, Sean, because he signed it when he was 29 and his agent is Scott Boras.
That's why I used it. Okay. Really that simple.
Okay. So if it's, and that was a few years back now.
Yep.
So what do you think Tarek Skubal and Boras are going to ask for and get? They'll get it from somebody. They're going to get it from somebody. So he's going to make at least, I mean, that's the minimum, $36.5 million. Don't give me this hometown discount bullcrap. No,
it's such.
Okay. So he's going to ask for at least $36 million, right?
Jeez.
Think about that.
Yeah.
And then you got to ask yourself, are you willing to go 9 years where he's going to be 38 years old?
What was Patrick Corbin's contract? What wasn't that like 140 million over like 5-6 years or something
Yeah, I
like
think it was like 28.5 million.
that's like these are the conversations you have to have, man. It's and Shep, I think you did a really good job of bringing that up. Okay, here's a franchise that we all agree asking them to spend $70 million more is probably not going to happen. Okay.
No way.
I'd love it, but it's probably not going to happen. Okay, while we're going out and signing these guys, while we're signing this guy and signing that guy and signing that guy, it is amazing how quickly that adds up. And again, I don't want to be a stick in the mud. What happened last year is not sustainable and is not going to happen again. I'm telling you that right now, okay? Shep, as we talked about, you need a catcher. You need a first baseman. You need a shortstop. You need a third baseman. You need arms. You need multiple arms. You need at least an outfielder. There are so many needs with this
Well,
team.
you need a DH. You need a right-handed.
A right-handed.
So my big belief is like go out and get a guy like Teoscar Hernandez.
Mm-hmm.
He'll give you at least 25 bombs. He'll drive in 90. Okay, and you can get him on a short-term deal.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, he's 32. You get him for 2-3 years. I'd take him through age 35. He won't break your bank, but he'd be a power bat in the middle of your lineup. That helps a lot. Doesn't even need to play the outfield, I don't think. He might want to once in a while, but he's no great shakes in the outfield, but he can hit, and I'd do that.
9 years, 324 million to be precise. Thank you, Tom, for checking that out for Garrett Cole. I mean, that's what we're talking about. What do you think Scott Boras is going to say?
Right. I mean, it's basically what I said. I mean, it's $36.5 million.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. But what's not indicated there was an out earlier this year. He decided to get the out, and he re-upped with the Yankees or something along those lines, and then he's making even more than the 36.5 per season.
Right.
Look, he's established. He's a really good player. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying that is the barometer we have to use. And if you don't want to look at it from 9,324, like Tom has educated us on, that's fine. Then look at it per year.
Yep.
Okay. Because I hate to tell people this. Last year, I think their payroll was like 120. The year before, their payroll was over $130 million.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now, a lot of that is Cabrera, granted, but it was still $130 million. And it didn't get you very far, did it?
No. Also wanted to clarify, I'm not super attached to Pete specifically, but we definitely need a reliable bat at first or third if we're going to, and third as far as I'm concerned, if we're going to complete. Sidebar, Colt Keith deal looks genius. I'll give credit where credit is due. Yeah, we'll see what happens. I hope it doesn't go out
36 million per year for the next 4 years. Tom, if you're his agent and you're the player, you're not doing that. Nobody's doing that.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, it makes it sound great for you and me, and you're like, oh, 36 million per year for the next 4 years. That's great. First of all, the 36.5 from Garrett Cole was signed a few years ago. So if you're Tarek Skubal and you're Scott Boras, you're going, wait a minute. My guy got 36.5 3 years ago. This guy's coming off a Cy Young. He's coming off a Triple Crown. He's the most wicked lefty and nastiest pitcher in all of baseball. Why would he settle for less and for less years? They want that security. They want the long-term deal. Just about everybody does. There was an exception or two, like Jose Ramirez. And how much did he get ripped on?
Yeah.
This guy's one of the best players in the world, and he makes $17 million a year. Okay.
Remember the Astros did that with John Singleton, by the way? They did the Colt Keith about 10 years ago. John Singleton was the can't-miss prospect who quite frankly missed, and they gave him this big contract because it was going to look like a deal down the line, and eventually he left. He came back, but it look, it doesn't. Eric said, where does Juan Soto go? I read something in the New York Post today, as a matter of fact, that and this is coming out of New York, that they think the Jays might be playing a role. A lot of people are saying Yankees or Mets, and according to an article today in the New York Post, they said the Jays might make a strong pitch.
Boy,
so for what it will work.
So if that's the case, and Toronto needs pitching too, suddenly you got Springer in center, you got Soto in right, you got Varsho in left. That's pretty good offensively, and Springer and Varsho are good defensively. And then you've got Guerrero at first, Bichette at short. I mean, that's a lot of pop in that lineup. A
Yep.
lot of pop. They need pitching though, because the pitching really wasn't there for them either. I wouldn't be surprised if a team like Boston jumped into that too.
Mm-hmm.
He's the ideal guy, right? He's
Oh
20.
yeah.
What is he? 24, 26,
I'm gonna
somewhere
look
in
it up.
that neighborhood, and he's a free agent. So you want to
26.
go long? You want to go, huh?
26. He'll be 27 in
26.
December.
So you want to go long term with a guy like that? I get it. Now
Yeah.
I wouldn't do a Tatis Jr. or a Machado deal, 13, 14 years, $600 million. I wouldn't do that. But if I understand why people would want to go a little bit longer with him because he's still, I mean, his prime window is wide open.
Yep.
Wide open.
Yep. Todd, Todd asking you shall receive. I see the Chris Illich I want to believe.
How did you come up with that so fast? That's beautiful.
Well done. Well done. We'll get to some of your comments in a second. Let me tell you about my friends at the Wealth Advantage Group. If you are looking to take charge of your financial future, there are two guys that can help you do it. That's Mike Husak on the left, Jeff Husak on the right. They are the fellas behind the Wealth Advantage Group. They're located in historic downtown Northville, owned by, did I mention they were brothers? With over 20 years of industry experience. They understand that your financial goals are as unique as you are. No two situations is the same. These guys get it. They offer personalized expert guidance to help you navigate the complexities of financial planning. Now, it doesn't matter where you're at in life. You're looking ahead to retirement, getting ready to sell your company. You're already in retirement. Doesn't matter. These guys can help you through every step of the journey. They work with clients throughout all stages of life, and they have clients in over 20 different states. The investment world is a complex one. So if you're ready to start taking your finances more seriously, it's time to work with the experts. Reach out to my friends at the Wealth Advantage Group at 248-773-8574. Check out their website at www.thewealthadv.com. They're not only my friends, but they've taken care of me and my family for a while. Let me read some comments, Shep, before we get out of here, because I know you want to go watch some football just like I do. Tim said, I said it before, I'll say it again. Boris won't accept anything less than golf money for Scooble. That's what Scott Boras does. That's why guys go to Scott Boras. Yep.
Right.
You're no argument from you, my friend. Scooble will be close to 40 million. That's my guess. I won't argue with that. Why doesn't Christopher Illich like to spend? Just out of curiosity. I don't know. I wish I knew the answer to that. I know that he did some upkeep things, and I'm going to give him credit for that. He got rid of the box televisions, did a little upkeep on Comerica Park because it was looking pretty shabby for a while from a fan perspective. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I will give him this. He spends some money that we don't always see. So he spent money, for example, in the minor leagues on the dormitories where they stay in Lakeland for some of the younger players to try and make sure their experience is a positive one. They now have nutritionists throughout the entire organization where that wasn't the case before. There's more symmetry from the top all the way down to the bottom. And then we mentioned the plane and some of the other things that I know you and I will shake our head and roll our eyes at, but for players, it's a big deal. And quite honestly, the plane needed it, but remember, it's not just for the Tigers, it's for the Wings too. So it was really important. I don't think, this is just a guess, an educated one though. I just don't think the passion for a baseball team is the same as his father's passion for the baseball team. Doesn't mean that he's cheap or won't spend. It's just he's much more careful in spending.
Especially as his father's life went on. You saw it become, because Shep, you and I are old enough to remember when he made the Mike Moore mistake, it was almost like he was gun shy for a while until Juan Gonzalez came around. Remember? I mean, he threw all that money at Mike Moore. And it was like, okay, this wasn't good. And then we ran into the Juan Gonzalez situation a few years later, unfortunately. Austin, we're going to be doing a What the Puck on Wednesday night, my buddy Mike and I, but he said enough baseball. If the Wings lose 4 or so on this road trip, do they leave Newsy in the Pacific time zone? Wings don't seem like the type of franchise that fires midseason, but how much patience does Steve have? They are, I'm going to say this again. It's a reminder of rebuilds are tough. There's no recipe to it. There isn't. I'm sorry. There's
I
no,
think I don't even know. You know what it tells me? It can be tough to evaluate talent on a regular basis. You're getting
it goes
production.
beyond Lalonde. It really does in my mind.
Oh,
It goes beyond Lalonde.
for sure. I mean, look, you're evaluating talent both coming out of college or in juniors and things, but you're also evaluating at the National Hockey League level. They're getting a ton of production from their top line. Tarasenko's been awful, and I thought it was a really good signing, right?
You know what's funny, Shep? I think you and I talked about this. He was a perfect fit for that Florida team because he's not the guy who's going to lead the charge anymore. He's not the guy who led the charge for the Blues when they went on that miraculous run.
Okay.
He was a good fit for that team, but coming in here where you can't bury him and use his size and you expect something from him, I think people were expecting something from him that he can't bring anymore.
Okay, then it begs the question: if he's the right fit for Florida, give me the player who's the right fit for Detroit.
I think you need more punch. I don't think there's any debate. And Tarasenko at this point in his career is not that guy. You needed punch. You needed a guy.
If you could have signed one free agent in the offseason
Mhm.
or could trade for one player now, what would those answers be?
Oh my gosh. Well, the biggest thing is January 1 isn't a holiday anymore. There just aren't a lot of big names out there. There aren't,
Right.
or there are guys like Steven Stamkos who still
Right.
have something left in the tank. He
Yeah.
does,
Yeah.
but his prime days are beyond him now. Wow. You know what? I would like a couple facilitators for this team because I love the way Dylan Larkin's playing right now. And I have said since the start of his career, this fan base has overrated him greatly. And people get so mad at him. He's a good player. He's been playing at an exceptional level. He really has. He's really got to go. Shep, I think they need a couple facilitators though. I think when people say, well, okay, what's wrong with this guy or what's wrong with that guy, I will often say in particular about a particular sniper, okay, who's getting him the puck? You gotta have guys that can get them the puck. It's just that simple. Cole Caulfield plays for crappy Montreal, okay, but you know what? He keeps pumping in goals like constantly. He's on pace for 80 goals or whatever. Why?
Yeah. He
He's
shoots
got
a lot too.
facilitators with him.
Yeah.
Yeah, he shoots a lot, but he's got guys that are going to get him the puck. And
Right.
I don't think the Wings have a lot of facilitators. I don't. And
Well, they don't have a lot of finishers either. If you when you say they need punch, that to me tells that you feel like this team needs some players with a little bit of an edge to them.
I think they do, and I think the blue line. I think it speaks for itself. We've hammered that so many different times, and as I told you a couple weeks ago, and I stand by it, I worry about his message and this team, and in particular the penalty kill. Their penalty kill's awful, and that's a correctable thing. It is that's a correctable thing, and that's a kind of just little things like that. I don't think he's going to make the season. I don't. I could be wrong. I don't think he's going to make this season. I think we're getting to a point where maybe not this trip, but I think we're getting to a point where they're probably going to make a change. And I will say again, I have a feeling that he's going to give not a retread a go. I think he's going to go with somebody that is getting their first kick at the can in the National Hockey League. That's been his MO since he became general manager at Tampa.
Yeah. Well, as long as you identify the right person, I think this is a good one because I think he's right. I think Tom's right. I think they missed David Perron a little bit.
It's amazing. Yep. It's amazing. Yep. Hey, when it's time to get yourself a new house, whether you're buying or selling or both, you need to contact the right agent. Who is that agent? How about Lindsay Broadwell? Your house is probably the biggest investment you'll ever make, and that's why you need a pro. Lindsay grew up on the mean streets of Northville and has expanded her team all over Southeast Michigan. She's an expert in all facets of the business, so when it's time to move, our friend Lindsay and her team will make sure you get the most out of your house and everything goes smoothly when finding your new home. Buyer, seller, first-time buyer, doesn't matter. make sure you contact Lindsay at BroadwellHomes.com. She will help you with everything from start to close. Licensed realtor at Real Broker LLC. Start your search today at BroadwellHomes.com. I wonder if Yzerman will get burned out as the GM eventually. No way. I don't buy that for a second. You know what, Shep? You know him. Well, I don't. Who really knows Steve Yzerman?
Right. Look, I've talked to him plenty. I can't say that I know him.
Okay, that's exactly who really knows Steve Yzerman.
Right.
But what that man's compete level is unbelievable. His compete level is unbelievable. That I can't imagine a scenario like that, but we'll see.
Yeah, he's got a. But I'll say this. I mean, he and his team. I know they work tirelessly. They do. Okay. They don't just sit back in their office and watch the games. Okay, they're constantly working. They've got to evaluate NHL talent better and figure out fits.
100%.
Right. And the thing, we'll go full circle here, and then we'll say goodbye. The full circle comment goes back to the Lions. They don't just get good players; they get the right players. They get the guys who fit their system and their culture. And I know that gets overused. And their locker room. Did you see Zadarius Smith last night? That dude's on the iPad. He's helping young guys who we just met 48 hours ago. He's working to help this team win, even though he's not playing and he's brand new to it. The Red Wings need guys who fit their system. I think you told me this. Correct me if I'm wrong. They've got a lot of guys. They just don't seem to fit well.
Yep.
Missing parts.
I see, and this is what Austin. I said this to you a couple weeks ago, Shep, and I just reiterated it. Austin said what's frustrating is they have some guys that you just feel they aren't getting most out of. Rasmussen in particular comes to mind. That's what I noticed about Dan Campbell. He gets the most out of his guys. That's a telltale sign for me in a penalty kill. That's why I say it's a correctable thing. Like I'm not saying that you're going to have the best PK in the world. I'm not, okay, but that's a pride thing. And an effort thing. I'm a firm believer in that. The PK is you have a guy who's on a mission.
It's an attitude thing.
It is. You know what? I am going to do whatever it takes on this penalty kill to kill these 2 minutes off. And for them to be near the bottom of the league with some of the pieces that they have on this team is kind of frustrating. Eric, the Yankees.
Yeah, the only thing I'd say to that about Rasmussen, and I know he's a first round pick and he's a big body and everybody believes he should be, a certain type of player and all this other stuff. And he has not, he's supposed to score, right? And I think he's just got a couple of goals right now. Did have a decent year last year. All right. I mean, in all fairness, Michael Rasmussen had 13 goals last year, 33 points in 75 games. It's not enough for a first round pick, not even close. But last year he seemed to come into his own a little bit. Seemed like he was a little bit more comfortable, especially the second half of the year.
Yeah, chasing the puck all the time doesn't help. Tom, that is, you think back to the puck possession days, 8-9 years, they look like two entirely different teams. It's the lack of speed is really telling against some of the speedier teams in this league. I mean, especially when you have to chase, it's really, really telling. Should Yzerman turn to Scotty Bowman or that type to try to help him? Scotty's 91, I think, and Scotty's still sharp as a tack. I mean, that's the reality of it. So,
but should he turn to him? That's the question. My guess is the answer to that would be no.
Yeah, I don't think he will. I don't think he will. Shep, always a pleasure, my friend.
Okay,
let's do it 11 a.m. Thursday, okay?
You bet.
All right. Thank you guys for chatting. We'll talk to you soon. God bless you. Keep up.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Yeah.
Shep and Sean, featuring Matt Shepard and Sean Baligian. Executive produced by Sean Baligian and Todd Losey. Theme song, incidental music, and related sound effects are from Still Alive by Anti-Ghost. Engineering, mixing, and graphic design support provided by the Unsyndicated Podcast team. Don't forget to like and subscribe on all your favorite channels. While you're there, be sure to rate and review the podcast. Call the Unsyndicated hotline at 248-237-3257.